Oh, all right. I decided to go to this different brand as it's known on Streamlabs or Streamyard. Sorry. I figure why not. Nice little photo of Monahan Sands there, different than the pulsing Avi that I normally do. So, anywho, the difference between socialism versus social democracy. This is a question that has been raised many, many times. I've talked about it a little bit before because there was a time when I said, I'm going to call myself a social democrat. No, no, no. And of course, my audience rightfully said, don't call yourself a social democrat. And it's true. Because ultimately, social democracy is basically scraps from the table. You know, it is a way to provide lip service to capitalism without having to change anything, or with just basically having a stronger safety net when people fall through the cracks, right? That's basically it. Whereas socialism, it's implied, social democracy, it can easily be cut, you know? Social democracy, I think, while people can go back to Kautsky or they can talk about various folks, the history, revisionist Marxism, everything else, I would say that Otto von Bismarck, to a point, was a social democrat. And indeed, a lot of what was known as the Second Reich of Germany could be considered social democratic because they allowed certain reforms to be done and be able to keep things going, providing health care, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, like I say, a lot of monarchies did this as well to keep their power. I think it's important to say this because there are a lot of folks who are social democrats and not very many folks who want socialism, you know. And I think that a lot of folks are beginning to, well, not beginning to, they already have. They've already signaled that they would rather just have social democracy as a start than to have a full on revolution and, nationalize everything. Which goes to show how much that they will sell out. These are folks who will say, social democracy or barbarism, this and that. And the U.S. will fall into barbarism, I believe. Um, I believe that this system is at a crossroads. The United States is at a crossroads, same as it was in 1968. We saw a lot of anger. We saw, the Vietnam protests. We saw groups like the Weather Underground, et cetera, right? The Symbionese Liberation Army. I think that was later on, but, it was of that time, right? Whereas nowadays, we see groups like Black Lives Matter. We see, you know, um, the DSA or whichever, and we see a lot of this stuff come up, right? We can't keep ignoring, the murders in the streets of kids and whatnot. And as much as Vosh will try to be a big brain sort of dude and say, well, actually, not all cops are bad, and then of course he, you know, he'll get angry because of course his audience are made up of LARPers, but that's a whole other story. The thing is that social democracy is just is like a toy that you've kept the receipt for your child, it's like if he gets bad and he gets out of hand, then you can take it back and get your money, and to me that's what social democracy is. It's simply toys or goodies that you've kept the receipt for, and that if they don't play by the rules, we're going to take it away from you. And I think that's important to realize the difference. And to me, yes, you can talk about, oh, socialism, Soviet Union was bad, or DPRK. Okay, fine. All right. But I think that, you could speak honestly about them. Say that they are doing what they have to do to survive. At least in my opinion. I think that a lot of folks that pretend to advocate for socialism really just want social democracy. And they just don't want, some sort of racialist idea. But the thing is that, I'm going off the rails on this, aren't I? But the thing is, I'll finish with this. Socialism is a process, and social democracy is a concession. I think that's as simple as you can make it, at least in my opinion. Socialism to me is a process that takes time. It's that, you had barracks communism or war communism in the Soviet Union, and then you had changes that occurred, right? So you had that 5-year plan, or you had some changes here and there. I'm not going to sit here and defend Khrushchev, don't worry, but changes were made to make the system more efficient, I think, over time. And I think that a lot of folks, realize that, Anywho, I think that's all I have to say. See you later, and bye.